Good evening from everybody at SSRL and myself included. We welcome you to round 8 of season 4. It is round Qatar on F1 24. Before we go through everything, let's go through our standings first and foremost. And well, Herman continues to lose ground in that Mercedes. He's 136 points clear, but Deja David not too far behind there in second. That lead down to single digits. And DeAndre not too far behind either, 19-point gap. Then fellow son fighting for 4th place, with Moksha not too far behind in 5th place and 6 points behind. 6th is obviously Pleasant Snake, still serving a couple of race bans, with Energetic hoping to get hot on his heels and take that 6th place array. That's probably going to be pretty academic. Pleasant Snake, of course, on race 2 of his 3-race ban, and he will of course serve a 63-second penalty in Barcelona, so more than likely to lose that 6th place. Then Daryl Kovachka and Russia Siri round out the top 10 positions. Then it's Race Chase Trugster, who has been replaced by Tabran. Trugster, failing to check in for 3 races, is a goner. So that means it's then Toby, Evor, and Jolly Boy John who are rounding out your top 15, and then it's Tarkin Gino, Quan, and then it's Thorn and somebody there. I caught Tabran there, that is in 19th. Enzo in 19th, and then Diego, of course, one of the debutantes, in 20th. In your team standings as of right now, it is Herman and Tarkin Gino in the Mercedes, leading by 151 points, with the Alpine in 2nd place of Deja David and Toby, McLaren of Fellow Son and Energetic. 4th is then Williams of Andy Andre and Skid Solo. Red Bull, of course, 5th with Moksha and Race Chase. And look at that top 5, only separated by 38 points. Then Ferrari, well, had a bit of a troublesome season. Pleasant Snake, of course, serving that 3-race ban, of course, in race 2 of that this evening. Then Trugster, well, he's been swapped out for Tabran, who has got a full-time seat now. Then the Aston Martin's just looking to secure maybe that 6th place, maybe catch up to 5th if Red Bull have a rotten bit of luck. Then Racing Bulls, Sauber and Haas rounding out your top 10, and they are in their own little battle. But as we begin qualifying, well, we have somebody in the comments box today. Quincy is joining me for the first time ever. Hello to you.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us about yourself.
Hiya. My name is Quincy. I created this league with a couple of my friends, and we just love to race on Tuesday nights. And over the year, it has grown into something that's truly exciting. So I'll leave the talking to you, and I'll just back you up as best as I can. Obviously, this is not really my comfort zone. This is your area. This is your theatre. I'll let you take the reins, mate.
Thank you very much. But of course, you'll chime in whenever you can, and it's good to have you along for this evening. So we are going to start with qualifying 1, the only qualifying session of this evening. It's a single 18-minute session, and this will decide places 1st through 20th. And at the moment now, we are seeing Moksha begin proceedings as a McLaren just on the exit into turn 1. Of course, it is Qatar this evening around the Lusail circuit, as we see Fellow Son, who is serving, I think, a qualifying ban. Is that correct?
Yeah, so he decided to go Wreckfest at the end of the Las Vegas Grand Prix, so he's serving his qualifying ban today, unfortunately for him.
Thank you very much. As we are now seeing Rush Siri begin a flying lap into turn 1, he goes a sweeping right-hander, followed by a medium-speed left-hander, and this is a very flat-out circuit. It is not very slow, not a lot of hairpins, as we saw in the real-life Formula 1 Grand Prix just a couple of days ago. And, you know, it doesn't always provide the most interesting racing in real life, but of course the game is very different. DRS trains are galore, and there's always guaranteed action wherever you look up and down the field. Of course, Quincy does have some experience racing here. Now, at the moment, all drivers on a flying lap. We do need to go through a couple of things about Flip, because Quincy kind of said something last week which didn't quite come through, so I won't hold it against him too much. But still, it is what it is at the end of the day, and Russia Syria having to deal with an Aston Martin in front here, and that is not the best place to be if you've got a faster car behind you. Actually, apart from one, all 18 drivers are on a flying lap right now. Let's Aston Martin and the red V car even going side by side into the final corner there. I think they're just trying to sort themselves out. They will both set a time. Yep, so Darrell was on a flyer. Russ Nassiri sets the first time of a 1:22.447. And just to give you an idea of what happened last time, as now Evil goes fastest.
Evil goes to the top. 1:22.118.
1:22.
I was just on board with him. He was really sending it through those tight corners.
And, well, as soon as you say that, Andy Andre there with a 1:21.403 and, well, being best of the rest. And Andy Andre was actually introduced here in Season 2, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me a bit about his Season 2 championship win, because I didn't really see a lot of that.
He came in and he just kind of took it on the reins and just, I believe he was doing some reserves at first, and then at the end of Season 1, got the bug, the SSRL bug, and came back in Season 2 fighting, and he won that quite convincingly, I believe. The Drivers' Championship.
Thank you very much. As now we see Flip actually do a time there. It's only a 1:39.956, so not representative at the moment, so I imagine he was just on a warm-up lap. As I bring up the information, he was out for 5 months, had an op on his ear, so he's just getting back up to his normal pace. And which is, we expect to be around Mr. Router, of course, who was a Season 3 driver, but that will take some time. So where exactly did you know Flip from? Has he been in and around the league before, or do you know him from somewhere else?
I know him from, he was a league runner himself. He had a league called ERL, I believe. And that's where I've known him from, because we're a very small community, the no assist community, so we do, try and keep each other in regards. So I know a lot of these guys have driven together from different leagues, and that's how SSRL came around, really, because a load of different leagues were dying off with the 2024 game and the 2023 game, sorry. So we just kind of muddled a load of different leagues, drivers together, and then we all came together and made this league here.
And what a wonderful league it is. I've sung its praises on my own little streams when I've done my own thing. I've absolutely loved commentating here, and if you do have me back for next season, of course it would be a wonderful pleasure as always. But at the moment, right now, we are seeing Quan go round the final corner and onto the start for the straight. The only DRS zone around the track opens, and that's a 1:24.118, and that places him 16th for the time being. Darrell, I imagine, has set that time on mediums down 17th. I am indeed correct. That's a 1:24.647. And Danger David also came with a time up to second place. So we didn't run through your standings, really. So Andy Andre, of course, on pole. No real surprise there. Only temporary, though. That might change as the session comes to its close. Danger David second. Energetic in third. And Evor and Moksha rounding out your top 5. Herman there, of course, one of the 3 championship contenders in the running, is in 6th. Tabran 7th, of course, recently got into that Ferrari seat thanks to Trugster failing to check in 3 times. And it's Rush Nassiri in 8th place. Diego in 9th. Race Chase in 10th. Flip in 11th with a 1:22.6. So it looks like that pace is starting to come back that Quincy was talking about last week. Then Jolly Boy John currently in the pits, a 1:22.789. Then Router, Tarkangino, Toby, Quan, Darrell, Skid Solo. The only driver not to set a time in the 19 drivers that are taking part is Kovachka, currently on an outlap. In fact, just as I say that, he starts his flyer, but we're on with Race Chase as he invalidates the time. So we will cut right to Kovachka and we will go on board with him. So a flat round here, turn 1, of course, that long sweeper, and then followed by a left sweeper, both medium speed corners going flat through here. And now you're about to hit a double 8-packs after this slight right-hander. Just sweeps a little bit to the right, and there you go. Not quite flat foot to the floor through here, but you're still very quick indeed. And now approaching this sharpish left-hander, very slow to medium speed corner there. Bit wide, need to be meeting the apex much earlier than that. And now coming through this, again, another medium speed corner. Only really need to come down some of the gears. So down to 4th he goes now, up through the gears, flat through this right-hander, and then a slight break through there. Medium speed yet again. And of course, dirty air is a real issue here for the drivers. And now, of course, flat to the floor out of that corner. And this should be flat, all things considered. Don't hear a lift from him there. And now you might need to lift a little bit. The rear end just kicking out there on the Aston Martin. Is it flat for this left-hander? No, just a bit of a lift through there as well. In fact, down to 6th. And then approaching this final corner. Again, another medium speed corner down to 5th. But, nearly invalidating the lap there. He kicks the ERS on through the only DRS zone. And that's a 1:24.275. And that is up to 16th for the time being. So, Quincy,
Ferrari coming up right behind him. Oh.
Just had a question for you, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a 3-driver championship contention in the championship, of course. That is between Herman, Dage David, and Andy Andre. Is this one of the most exciting conclusions to a season you've ever had, or is there one that tops this?
Oh, the dramatic ending to last season is something that I don't think will ever forget. But yeah, this season's been pretty remarkable in terms of David being up there, because usually he is a podium contender driver when it comes to Andy and Herman and some of the other guys like Fellison. He never really got a win, I don't think, in his first season. He only got the one at the beginning. And I don't think he won after that. So to see him back on top, 2 wins this season and 4 podiums, it's a really good chance for him and the Alpine team to actually take both titles if he puts everything right.
Absolutely. We saw Andy Andre there just while you were chatting go with a 1:21.394, but now we are looking at the Ferrari of Tabran come across the line, open that DRS, and that's 3rd place.
It's a lovely lap by Tabran. A lot of these guys raced last night in the no assist NSA, no stabilizers allowed league, and we had a 100% wet race last night on Qatar, which you never see. But I've just checked my tool. It's looking dry all the way through.
Thank you very much. As we see Evel go up into 2nd place there, the Spanish driver taking a 1:21.796, and this is the track evolution I talk about from week to week. And just in case if you're new to league racing, or you may be new to F1 in general, or anything like that, first and foremost, welcome to SSRL, and warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for choosing this broadcast to be the one that introduces you to the wonderful world of Formula 1, or even the wonderful world of sim racing. When we say track evolution, what we mean is that the surface isn't quite grippy. It's usually got a lot of dirt on it, and as you drive over it and as the session wears on, usually the track gets more grippier because the dirt goes onto the tyres, gets cleared off on the racing line, and then you gradually see the times come down. And that's what we're seeing. An example of Andy, of course, going from a 1:21.5 to a 1:21.3, and of course in the case of Evo getting into the 1:21s and with a 1:21.796 there. And of course same with Tabran. So there you go, a bit of a lesson for you there in motor racing. But at the moment, who, if you were a betting man, Quincy, who would you say this championship could go down to? Of course, you're the admin, so I guess you have to be a little bit unbiased. But who is your money on? Do you think Andy could go for the 3rd in a row?
I think Herman's consistency is going to win out. I know he's only 9 points clear, but you've got 2 races left. He is a contender to win at least the last 3 of these races. I know I've seen him win at Abu Dhabi before. So never count him out. He's very, very big on the preparation for this season, and he really, really wants to win. So I'd have to bet my money on Herman for this one.
And as you say that, we see Rush Siri, who of course was a contender last season, but just couldn't quite make it work. He got all the way to Monaco, and sadly, Herman just was the better of him that round. And then, of course, he actually was the very person who took the championship out of Herman's hands. Quincy referring to that a few minutes ago, round that first corner after the last safety car restart. So hasn't quite been the recovery that Rush Siri would have wanted. I don't know if the V-Carb would have had anything to do with that, but have you spoken to Nasiri at all, and do you know what the feelings are around this season for him?
I'm not too sure, but from the outside looking in, it just looks like he's taken a little bit of a step back, like a lot of the guys have done in terms of practice and trying. I think he just wants to come, have fun, get some podiums if he can. I'm only speaking as hypotheticals, but that's, to me, from the outside, that's what it seems like. He's just trying to have some fun. He's not really going for it, I would say.
Thank you very much. And yeah, as we soon as we say that, Daryl goes up into 11th. That's on softer compound of tyres. So I mean, it's very close, isn't it? We've only between the top 10 got a second separating them. So I imagine this is going to be a very close Grand Prix. And of course, a lot of that is attributed to the high-speed nature and of course the quick lap time compared to other tracks that we would visit. Danger David as well on a flying lap, so we'll keep an eye on him. He's just coming through sector 1. Got an Aston Martin in front. I imagine that's Daryl on an in lap or just a cool down lap. But at the moment, do you feel like Andy Andre's got this pole all settled up?
Yeah, if it's pole we're betting on, it's definitely Andy. His one lap pace is just incredible.
And we have seen many insane laps over season 3 and 4 there, as we see Danger David there invalidate his lap, so he's not going to go any for. Oh, contact between him and the Aston Martin. I think that is of Daryl, because Kavachka is in the pits, and there you go, Daryl with a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Danger David, although I think it should have been the other way around.
Game can be tricky sometimes with that.
Can be, can't it? We've seen many grid penalties be given for, well, much less, let's be honest, and time penalties given for much less behind the safety car. Race chase begins, another flying lap, and of course, just kind of bringing the tension to the constructors' battle as well, because I was just looking at it just while I was on the train home and just preparing for commentary with your league. I was looking at the constructors, and there is 5 teams fighting for the win. You know, we've got a separation of, I think it's, yeah, 38 points, and all sorts of constructors there in the hunting. You know, it's one of those championships which could go either way. If Red Bull get a good result, they could be looking good for the win. And then if Williams get a good result, if Andy Andre and his teammate Skid Solo, and Skid Solo particularly, can pull up his boots and get up the field, you know, Williams are in with a good shout. And I just love that swing that the constructors can give. That is one of the things I just love. So in terms of that championship, where do you see that going, or is that just as unpredictable for you as that is for me?
I think it's unpredictable, mainly because the way that the league has been designed, it's in nature of we pit one of the top 5 drivers with someone, you know, on the opposite end of the scale to them, so that we can have a battle for the constructors. Season 1 where was a complete shutout for the Haas team with Pleasant Snake and Herman, because they were so powerful together. You know, they trained together, they talked together, etc. So I put these teams together specifically so that it would be this close in the end. So you would have a battle and everyone would have something to fight for. So I couldn't tell you. If I were to say, if I was a betting man, I'd say probably McLaren, because they have the strongest team, in my opinion, on the grid, with Energetic 6 and his podiums and Fellison's with his wins. They've been really unlucky, I think, in the last race and the race before last as well. So, but if they can get it together, you know, I think they have the greatest chance of taking it in the last 2.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, fellow son with a lot of work to do, of course, serving a qualifying ban for, in your own words, going wreckfest in Las Vegas in those last 2 laps, of course. We saw some of that from on board, well, from our broadcast cameras, but it were obviously penalised harshly. And speaking of penalties, I don't know if I touched upon this much in the last broadcast, but of course we've been talking about Pleasant Snake a little bit. Can you just explain his 3-race penalty for those that just might not know yet?
Okay, so intentional contact is something that just should never happen, really. He intentionally tried to take out one of his rivals due to previous lap problems or whatever the reason. There is no excuse for it. So he accumulated quite a lot of penalties, including a 3-race ban, 8 penalty points, and time penalties for the next race he attends due to the threshold being reached for the penalty points that he got, as well as a qualifying ban. So he will miss the full qualifying for the Spain race in the end, and he will have 63 seconds added on to his end of race time, and plus the 3 race bans, which consists of Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi as well. So harsh punishment fits the crime, I believe, and it's a big deterrent for people thinking they can do this in the future. I think they see the consequences are really severe here.
And as they should be, but we are now at the conclusion of qualifying. Herman jumps up into second place with a 1:21.6. Moksha is next. Across the line, he gets second place by 600ths of a second. Danger David is next, but there's somebody beforehand. I'm trying to gather who that is. That was Toby there across the line. Then it is one of the kick Saubers of Andy with a 1:21.180. I don't think we're going to see that be beaten.
David is 5/10 up on his time currently. That should put him probably around second place, I would say.
Rush the Siri up to 5th there with a 1:21.8, but Danger David, the championship contender, in second place. 9 or 8 points separate him from the top. He needs to be in between Herman and Andy. Can he do it across the line? He can! He's up to second place. 0.2 of a second separate him and the Williams there. Great lap from David right at the end there, and that is a very important lap because now Herman is under pressure and there is a Red Bull who's just fighting for the constructors, and his teammate starts in 9th, so nice positioning for the Red Bull. Of course, the Saubers as well, who have suffered this season, are also looking like they're getting a good haul of points, and of course that's very appropriate because Guan Yu Zhou getting his first points in Qatar as well, so maybe there's a bit of luck here for the kick Saubers, but we of course have to convert that into a 50% feature race distance. So there you go. Andy and David are your top two. Moksha and the Red Bull in 3rd. Herman the German in 4th, and of course we'll go through your full grid right now. Andy Andre, of course, as we've just announced, in 1st, David in 2nd, Moksha 3rd, 4th is Herman the German, Evor in 5th, Rush the Series 6th, Mr. Walter 7th, 8th is Tabran, Race Chase 9th, Energetic in 10th, and then outside your top 10 is Flip, Jolly Boy John, Daryl, Diego, and Toby, rounding out your top 15. Then from 16th to 20th is Tarkan Gino, Kwan, Kovachka, Skid Solo, and of course the one serving a qualifying ban, fellow son in the McLaren. So, question for you from chat. Well, first of all, Daryl's gaming with a quali to forget. He will start in 13th position. But from Belarusian Jackal, greets, would there be controversial race direction decisions? If not, not realistic. Boo.
I doubt there'll be any race decisions from me. Looking at after the quali though, I would say it's a point to Alpine there, getting both their drivers ahead of both Mercedes. So David in front of Herman the German and Toby Lenzen in front of Tarkan Gino.
Thank you very much. A lot of exciting races to come up and down the field. Of course, one driver to keep an eye on is fellow son, already taken a win this season. He starts in 20th place, though, so a lot of work from him to do. Now, in Qatar, high-speed corners, not really a lot, no real place to overtake apart from the DRS zone, the only one in the track going into turn 1. What do you think fellow son needs to do to try and get up the field to even contend for, let's say, a top 5?
I watched him yesterday in the rain. I know he's the king of the wet, but he was making overtakes in daring places. So I think he'll cut through like butter. I really do. I think he DNF'd last night. He will try and get up there. He likes to race near the front. I can see him getting in the top 10 within probably like the first 10 laps, I'd say.
We'll keep an eye on that, see if that comes to fruition. Of course, Belarusian Jackal saying, jokes aside, have a good one. Time to get some points, says Daryl's Gaming. Of course, he has to serve a 5-second grid penalty due to a severe collision, so he will actually start P18. And the last time that Daryl did start outside the top 10, he did get 3rd place, went from 11th to 3rd with an 8+ improvement. And in fact, just about all of the drivers that qualified outside the top 10, apart from No Sebo, got an improvement. So, for example, Skid Solo went from 19th to 12th with a +7. Vero Ducko, reserve, went from 18th to 13th. Toby with a 7th improvement, with 7-place improvement even, from 17th to 10th. Flip with a 5-place improvement from 16th to 11th, and it kind of just goes on like that. You kind of get the picture.
I'm hearing that David got a 5-place grid penalty also.
Oh.
From the collision.
Well, that is... Well, I don't know. I thought he was the only one who needed the penalty, but then again, you could also argue that Daryl was probably on the racing line, but we didn't really get the best angle, so I'm not really going to make any further judgment on that.
Yeah,
But
Daryl's admitting fault. He said, yeah, it was his bad, so I'm guessing it's exactly as you said, yeah.
fair enough. Thank you very much. Thank you, Daryl, for being on my side, even if it was at your own defeat. Yeah, I got confused. I thought I was offline. I don't know how you could make that mistake, but anyway, judgment aside, Quincy, need your predictions for the podium.
So David will probably be starting P6 behind Ivor. So I'd say Moksha, Andy, and Herman. That would be my guesses for today.
So Moksha with the win, Andy in second, and Herman in third.
No, Andy for the win for this one. Moksha in second, Herman third, I would say.
Ooh.
Actually, no, reverse that. Herman second, Moksha third.
Okay then. Well, we'll see how that comes to fruition. I want to say Fellow Son will get on the podium. I think it's going to be I like cheer. If I'm going to be biased here for just a second, I like seeing Moksha at the front. So just for the sake of being chaotic, I'm going to say Moksha for the win. I'm going to say Fellow Son to second, and then Danger David to third. I'm gonna bring chaos on this. See what happens.
Anything can happen, as you have seen in previous races. So you know, I could see that happening as well. You know, it's one of those things here, and it
really is.
Anything can happen.
Daryl, not included in any of our predictions, says right time for a podium. Of course, needs to find 15 positions in order for that to happen. But I've got to say, Quincy, as well, because you've been driving this league for a little while now, you know, we take these few minutes between the qualifying and the race session. What are you doing mentally, and what are you doing with the strategy? Like, what are those final few minutes like?
Oh, we're just cracking jokes, fiddling with fuel, you know, talking about who we're going to take out in turn one. No. I don't know. We're just getting in the zone, I think. Yeah.
All right. Short, very sweet. In the lobby chat is only Toby at the moment, so he must be very lonely, as I'm now starting to hear the clicks for the countdown. So we are going to go through a formation lap at any moment, and I am a little unprepared. So just give me a moment and then I'll be right with you. And of course, if you are just joining us for the first time tonight, we have just had our qualifying session, and we will now run through your grid for the 50% feature-length race. As now the music kicks in, we are ready to go. So on pole position, name any other duo that is more iconic. It is Andy Andre in the Williams, then it's Moksha in the Red Bull in second place. Herman the German starts third, then needs to make sure he keeps his podium spot or else he's going to be in trouble. Then it's Evor in fourth, Rush the Syrian fifth, Mr. Wouter sixth place, Danger David with a grid penalty thanks to a collision with Daryl in qualifying starts seventh place, Tubran in eighth as well, good qualifying from him and the Ferrari needing some points. Race Chase is in ninth, of course, fighting with the Red Bulls for the constructors more than anything. They are in fifth place and have 38 points to gain. Then in rounding out your top 10, Energetic as well, McLaren in that fight for the constructors as well. Then it is Flip. Of course, wasn't the most preferable start to his debut last week. Can he make up some positions this week? Then it's Jolly Boy John and Diego, 12th and 13th, rounding out those positions in the Haas team. Toby in the other Alpine starts 14th. Tark and Gino in the other Mercedes, 15th. And outside of the points, it is Kwan, Kovachka, Daryl, Skid Solo, and Fellow Son, of course. Daryl serving a 5th place grid penalty thanks to the collision, and Fellow Son serving a qualifying ban. But we are now coming around the final corner with Andy Andre. And, well, what is the most important thing here that's going to get the right start here, Quincy? Do you need to be leading into turn one, or would you rather be in second or third chasing down the leader?
I think you'd rather be leading, because as we saw from the Grand Prix on Sunday, you could just hang it around the inside and push your rivals all the way out.
That's a very Max Verstappen way of thinking about it. I'll give you that. I've not known you to be a Max Verstappen character when you drive, but I'll appreciate the out of character thought there. That's nice of you. But yeah, no, as you say, like, you know, in F1 rules, that is allowed. So you wouldn't get anything for it. I don't know about SSRL rules, though. I don't know what if they allow that kind of
As long as
erratic.
there's no touching, you know, it's okay. It's within the hard race, and as long as there's no collisions or really forcing them off, I think it's okay.
Okay, then, well, it's your words, not mine. But at the moment now, the McLaren of Fellow Sun is about to line up on the grid. No disqualifications from the warm-up lap, so that means everybody's tyres are right up to temperature, although Fellow Sun might have dropped those temperatures a little bit. But we now have 3, 4, 5 red lights for the feature race. It's going Qatar. Bit of a delayed start there, thanks to internet, but it is Andy Andre that gets away. But it's Moksha in second. That's now going to look down the inside into turn 1. Can he get it done? Andy's still there, though. Moksha's still there as well. They go side by side. A lot of position swapping in the background. There's a Ferrari there. 10-second penalty for Toby for a severe collision with Flip. And it looks like we've all got away okay, but Flip is down in 19th, but it's Andy Andre there in the lead as an Aston Martin goes right into the next turn. And now Moksha, well, still trying to put the pressure on in second. Danger David still sixth, the biggest winner there, gaining a position. Tarkin Gino actually with a good start as well, but now starting to slip down the field. A lot of tussling there in the back. Quincy, can you say anything?
Fellison up 5 positions from last place to P15.
Oh, spin there for Mr. Welter. Sorry, spin there for Mr. Welter. He was in the gravel there and now continues on down in 17th. I do apologise there for cutting over you there. But from the top 10 to the back of the grid as Dago leaves the session. That'll be thanks to internet, I would imagine, but Moksha holding on. So the top 5 don't move. Race Chase up 2 positions as well. Great start from him. We've also got somebody in the chat saying, let's go, Andy. Also, in terms of strategy, only 3 drivers on the hards. Fellow Sun, that makes complete sense if you think about it. Oh, Red Bull there trying to fight for the lead all of a sudden. We'll get back to that in just a second, but we're now going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Herman, Moksha and Andy. Herman backs out of it, as does Moksha, but now Herman is on the inside of the Red Bull into turn 1. He goes. Evil wants a piece of this as well, trying to take advantage of the Red Bull's loss. Evil round the outside into turn 2, couldn't make it work. He has to settle back down for the time being, but Herman there taking advantage of the Red Bull being out of line and finds himself up into second place as of right now. So Flip is also dropping down. Oh, actually, in the back there, we have Flip and Toby in the pits. So Flip very much out of this one, unless if there is a safety car. Kick Sauber still trying to find a way around things, as now Kovachka makes up a position in 15th there, Quincy.
Fellison now up to P12, 8 positions on the first 2 laps. I did say he would probably get up to in the top 10 within 10 laps, and it looks like my prediction's going pretty good right now.
Most certainly is, yes. Fellow Son, of course, as well, of course, we did predict to be very high up. I still think he will be there on the podium. Moksha was able to hold on from Evil's charge, so he's still in 3rd. So that's at least one of the predictions coming true as of right now. But now Herman and Andy are going to do battle again into turn 1. These two fought till the bitter end last season, and now they're probably going to do the same again, as we can't decide who's taken fastest lap. But Herman, we know, is going to take the lead of the Qatar Grand Prix on lap 3 out of 29. Fellow Son makes his way past the Aston Martin, as does the Mercedes of Tarkin Gino, and actually Tarkin Gino having a good race, all things considered. He is up, I think that is 3 positions as of right now. So Tarkin Gino having a good race, and that is good for the Mercedes crew, but needs to make a few more positions. The Red Bulls are lying 3rd and 7th in that constructors as well, and with the with one Alpine out of the picture as of right now, Toby all the way down in 20th. David needs to make up as many positions as he can, only in 6th place as of lap 3 out of 29. So now Herman taking the lead proceedings. What have you noticed at the back of the grid as of right now, Quincy?
Tarkin Gino, which is very surprising, is actually... Oh, retirement. Is that in the pits?
Yep, Flip in the pits there.
So.
Yeah, flipping.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Tarkin Gino looking very pacey on the back of Fellison's, not losing any time there. He's a second faster than he was on his previous lap.
Well, there you go. Tarkin Gino looking like he's got something in that Mercedes better than what happened in real life. Of course, unfortunately, We all know how a certain Brits race ended up, but there you go, Herman now with the fastest lap of the race, looking to increase that gap, but of course Andy will have the ERS, and the DRS is, oh, there's a Ferrari there, oh, careful, oh, dearie me, that was really bad timing, not to the fault of the Ferrari, as there you go, David with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations, so that's going to be added on to the end of the race. That was a bit unfortunate there, wasn't that, Quincy?
Well, that was, I just went onto an energetic 6 as he nearly crashed into the back of that Ferrari. It's just the game's beautifulness at work, isn't it?
I love a co-commentator that can also make fun of the things that we are watching at the same time. Unfortunately, David, is it very likely he could have that penalty removed just because of what happened there?
Not the way the game works, unfortunately, because if we would do that, it could be a case of a restart, but then you'd have to investigate, and then the time, you know, it's one of those things. It's like a drive-through. You're just going to have to hold that, unfortunately, and try and handle that in the steward's room. See if you can penalise the driver that caused the incident, for example.
Yeah, no, that's kind of more what I meant. So, like, say if Danger David wants to report that, like, you know, because of the game being the game, let's say, and then he wants to, like, you know, have that 3 seconds removed. If it stays at 3 seconds, we've got to admit, we've got 25 laps to go at the line, as now we are seeing, well, a battle for the lead. We'll come back to that in just a second. Herman going all the way to the inside there, nearing the pit wall, but Andy Andre, of course, with that DRS, was going to get that move done as Jolly Boy John, fellow son again, and Tark and Gino are going at each other. Daryl, of course, making a position up as well. Maybe we should cut to them at some point. But as of right now, it is looking very
I'm watching them,
crazy.
so let me know what you need to know. Daryl's on the back of Fellison. Fellison's 2.2 seconds away from Jolly Boy, who is just looking like... Oh, Jolly Boy spins! Just as I said that.
We cut
Fellison is on the back of Jolly Boy right now, looking to make the overtake right now.
And he is making the overtake. Look at this as Tark and Gino gets a 3-second penalty as soon as we see that. Now, fellow son and Jolly Boy John side by side here into this long right-hander. Fellow son with the cut back there from the outside to the inside. Can he make Quincy's prediction come true? Trying to go for the top 10 in the first 10 laps. Oh, a bit wide there from the Haas of John. And now fellow son surely will have the exit to get that move done. He does. Quincy, you must be very happy.
Other than half the time, no surprise with Fellison. Like I said, brilliant contender, brilliant competitive guy.
Looking back to the top 5, we're looking at cushions being made right now. Andy Andre trying to get the gap to the car behind. Of course, that is his championship rival of Herman. Danger David not having a good race as of right now. Currently caught in that DRS train, which isn't very preferable. Of course, only one DRS zone around this track, and that's at the start-finish line. And even then, the start-finish track isn't really long enough to really get that overtake done. The DRS zone starts just before the start-finish straight, and that's already 30% of the straight gone. So you've got to really be very close at a certain point, really underneath. I would say about 4 or 5 tenths underneath there, and then you would have a shot. But now look at Evo as well. He's just on that bubble, as most of the top 5 are. Danger David still trying to find his way past as well. We also have a Romanian here in chat. Saiju, of course, cheering for Andy, so he'll be happy with how things are going for the Williams driver out front, as Diego has left the session again, unfortunately, so he's really struggling with his internet tonight. Hopefully we can see that stabilize, and if there's a safety car, hopefully see him running for the points, of course. And we've just had an interesting little bit of action there at the back. Do you want to comment on that?
Let's see. I'm watching Danger David chase down Rush Naziri currently, 4 tenths on the clock, and I'm hoping to see an overtake attempt into turn 1 currently. Oh no, he's pitting. What tyres is he gonna go? He's gonna go straight for the hard tyres. No, Danger David.
We'll keep an eye on that, because we've just seen Herman the German take the lead. Of course, that won't be of anyone's surprise. The DRS train very powerful here. We'll bring the tyre graphic up for just a second. It's the hard tyre, Quincy. What do you think of that call?
Yeah, I think he's going to try and go to the end.
wouldn't be a surprise. The hard tyres are actually pretty lengthy here, and I imagine he's trying to also undercut all of the drivers in front of him, which would include Herman and Andy and Moksha. So I do believe he's still trying to go for the win. But you've also just got to be careful of traffic as well, because he's all the way down in 17th, so he doesn't want to get involved in a race. He's already got somebody approaching him. That's Diego there, only 3/10 behind. He should be able to get away from him, considering the pace difference between those two. But I don't know. It just feels like it's a bit too early, in my opinion.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I'd say so. When you think you've got more than 20 laps to go on a set of hards, that the left side tyres, left side front and rears are going to be screaming by the lap 29 there.
Absolutely. Now, I'm seeing some swaps for position up in 10th place, which is seemingly where most of the action is. Fellow Sun starting to break away from this pack, but still has 2 seconds to go. To Tabran in front, and Tabran actually having a good race as well. We don't always see him in the top 10, but when he's there, it's very nice. As that Race Chase has made a move there, but that is because we are seeing, I think, somebody going to the pits. I'm not seeing the graphic come up.
The series is going to pit for hard tyres currently.
Thank you very much there. So he's just trying to cover off Danger David, I would imagine. Although
let's see where he comes out.
Well, Danger David in front. Oh, I think. No, hang on. No, I'm wrong. Commentators can be wrong. So Danger David just on the start-finish straight now, Quincy.
Yeah, so he is not, that undercut not working that well for him.
And there you go. So too early, evidently, and Rush the Series. Well, Quincy, in F1, one lap sometimes just makes all the difference. And maybe it's Rush the Series that's timed that perfectly. He's not as far away from the pack as the Alpine driver. So now, you've got to think maybe Rush the Series called that in just perfect. And everybody's going to be keeping an eye on where Rush the Series is on track. But I do think now he's in a very good position, the V-Carb driver, to probably make a few positions once we go into the pit stop window for the majority of the drivers. Of course, most of the top 10 not taking advantage of that as of right now.
I agree with what you said earlier. It just feels a little bit too early for the hard tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. But who has been your driver of the day thus far, as we're seeing a battle for the top 3 going to turn 1? Andy Andre round the outside there. We're going to go side by side. We'll come back to you in just a second. Little bit of contact between the Mercedes and the Williams. They still go side by side into turn 2. But Andy wins that battle for traction. So, Quincy, back to the original question. Who's been your driver to watch so far?
I know Fellison's gone up 12 positions, but let's be honest, we expect that of him. Tarkin Gino is my driver of the day contender currently. Doing very well, no mistakes. He's catching people that are usually quite faster than him on this track. So, fair play to him, and he keeps going. He's got a penalty, but I'm sure that more penalties from everybody else will come later on.
Yeah, so it's always that little saying I like to have here in this game in general, really. As soon as one does it, the rest usually follow like a pack of dominoes. It usually only takes one to start the concertina effect. As now Jolly Boy John down the inside, as Diego has officially retired from the session. He's still going, but he's approaching. That is, I think, turn number 3 there. So I don't think he's retired on track, I think, and that's penalised, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a very harsh penalty.
Well,
so we'll have to review his footage, and unless he was kicked and then maybe the AI kicked him, I don't know. But we'll definitely review that, and penalties will fly if it's a case that he did it on track.
Thank you very much, Quincy, giving us a bit of insight into the stewarding room. You don't get that everywhere here on Twitch. And there you go, Kvachka now resuming that battle for 9th. Jolly Boy John overtaken, and now Kvachka up into 9th. But of course, he still needs to make a pit stop, so this won't be the final position that he is in. Last time I commentated on this, there was no safety cars at all. Can you just comment on your last race here? Back in, I believe it was, yes, Season 2. Fellow Sun winning that race. Second was Herman, third as Evel. As well, Rush the Series with a 3-second penalty to boot now, so he's in a bit of trouble.
Like we said.
Yeah. Go on.
Season 2. I don't recall, to be honest. I'm not too sure. I believe it was on the F123 3 game,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember that being one of my best races ever because I got a drive-through penalty on the start, and came back up, and I think a lot of people ran out of fuel on that particular time. I'm not too sure, to be honest. I might be mixing up races from different leagues on this because we haven't really played Qatar too much since this game's released.
Fair enough. Well, I hope. Well, I mean, we'd love to see a bit of chaos every now and then. Maybe the drivers just run out of fuel on the final lap. I mean, it would certainly make for something something different. Let's say that. But
Stranger
anyway,
things have happened. Yeah.
as fellow son now is battling with a Ferrari for 7th place. He gets that done round the outside on the start-finish straight. So Brown trying to defend, but that was really always going to go the way of the McLaren, as Kwan has now been disconnected, and we already have 2 DNFs. Let's try to not make it a third. We currently have 18 out of the 20 drivers still running. So Diego, no, who was it? Sorry, again, was it Toby?
Diego, yeah, that was correct.
Oh, it was Diego, so never mind then. It was... oh, we have a yellow flag for an Alpine. So, oh, it's from Toby. Down in 18th for
Blue
just...
flags.
Blue flags. That would actually make sense there. So Toby getting out of the way of the top 4, so he doesn't inhibit the race too much. But the top 4... not been much action with them. I imagine that they are just saving up for their pit stops. They are all on the medium tyre, but they've got the hard compound runners not too far behind fellow son now. 3.3 seconds behind his teammate, and I imagine as soon as he catches up, which is looking very likely, I imagine he'll be pitting towards, I would say, maybe the late teens, early 20s potentially. Do you think that if fellow son makes this last, now we see, well, as soon as I say that, we'll have to just cut away for 1 second here because Moksha and Andy have now made their pit stops. They need to be ahead of the V-Carb of Rush the Series, so this is going to be very seat of the pants for both the Red Bull and Williams. They get their pit stops done rather quickly. Andy Andre is now away in front of the Red Bull, as it should be. It was Kwan that disconnected, my apologies, but he's now back in the car and will resume racing. There's the V-Carbs at the back that we were talking about. Needs to be ahead of them, and they have done that rather comfortably. So that battle will resume as it was once Herman and Evor get their pit stops done. Let's have a look at the pit stops as of right now. Not many stopping. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 drivers that have only stopped so far. So 8 drivers going for the undercut. And like we said earlier, Danger David just calling that a little too early by probably just a lap. And then Rush the Series, well, calling that the lap after. And, well, he's in a much better position. But just the undercut hasn't worked around Qatar. So... right, you know, Quincy, could you comment on that a little bit with the undercut not working?
I think it's very track dependent, and I think with this track you have a lot of grip, but once the tyres start going off, you lose a lot of time. So not only have they failed the undercut, they're now going to be at a tyre deficit, and that's not going to be helpful for them catching up either.
Absolutely. In fact, Herman the German now makes his way into the pits, looking to cover off the Williams and the Red Bull equally. So this is going to be one heck of an important pit stop for him. Even Race Chase now follows suit into the pits. Herman, of course, on those hard tyres, as did... let's see, Andy and Moksha. So right now we're keeping an eye on them, and they are just approaching the start-finish line as Kwan is retired from the session. Quincy, do you have any further news?
He probably got lapped and thought, you know what, I'm going to just keep it off track, put it in the pits. Is he in the pits?
Good question. He's approaching the pits because now, I'm sorry to cut over you right now, because Andy RJ got past the Aston Martin of Darrell, but it wasn't enough. Herman is ahead. He is now your net leader of the race, and the strategy, well, works out for Herman rather perfectly. And if a safety car was to come out, well, it would be disaster, but that hasn't happened as of right now. I don't think it's gonna be. But now we are on lap number 13 out of 29. The top 4 complete their pit stops. Well, and now Moksha having to make his way past as well of Darrell down the inside. Well, into the most unlikely of corners. Somehow gets that done, but Darrell is still side by side. We only have onboard cameras. They're still going side by side with one another. This is excellent stuff here. I wish we had a broadcast camera, and there we go. We get one eventually. But Darrell holding out for all he's worth, and Moksha loses that DRS advantage he would have had, and he's 1.8 seconds behind. So I imagine now it's a race between Herman and Andy. Now it's Evor. Sorry, go on.
Evo pits for, as you can imagine, the hard tyre. So does Mr. Wouter and Koviska.
Righty-ho then. So as of right now, Evor is probably not going to restart where he began, as now we're starting to see the Red Bull and the Aston Martin come past him. So Evor, I think that will be 4th place for the Kick Sauber driver. So good haul of points coming the Sauber's way, especially with Mr. Walter in 13th. And of course, he will be on fresher tyres towards the end of the Grand Prix. So a lot of positions could be on point for him. Fallow Son all the way to the lead of the Grand Prix, but won't stay there for much longer, only because he will need to make a mandatory pit stop, as Mr. Walter and Kavachka there, just to outside of the top 10 here, are battling for 13th and 14th, and Mr. Walter gets that done. He gets past the fellow Aston Martin, but Darrell is having a very good race, Quincy. He is now up from 18th to 6th. Still needs to make a pit stop though, so this is very temporary. But again, it's been a consistent drive from the Aston Martin, and he's been doing that a lot over the past few weeks, as Rush Series gets another 3-second penalty for track limit violations.
It's only going to get worse for these guys with the track limits, I think, when the tyres start to go. Even though, you pit, you come back again, you start to feel, it's going to feel different. You're going to start making little tiny mistakes, and then boom, you got a 3-second penalty. Ivor is on the back of Darrell right now, looking to make this overtake happen, and he's very close, so I think it should be done way before turn 1 happens. And there you go.
It certainly is. Cut away for a little second there, because Andy, RJ and Herman are side by side for what is effectively the lead of the race once the top 2 pit. And, well, it's still Herman trying to hang on to the back, but now we're in this interesting section as, Darrell, Danger David and Rush the Siri all have 3-second penalties. Danger David adds on to his total. That's up to 6 seconds at the end as Tarkin Gino retires in the pit lane. And that was one of your drivers that you were looking at there, Quincy.
Yeah, he was doing very well. He's another guy suffering from a fever tonight, so he did very well to get to lap 15, and he's quite pacey all the way up until, so unfortunate for him.
The fever curse just couldn't quite work out for him, unlike it did with David last week. Of course, I imagine David is fully recovered because he's currently down in 8th place with a 6-second time penalty. That won't help his point. Well, that won't help his contention for the Drivers' Championship, so I don't know, because then after this we have 2 races to go. I don't know. If David doesn't get something together soon, I think we could be saying goodbye to him by the time we arrive at round 9.
Yeah, I think so too.
At the moment, we are still waiting for the top 2 to kind of make their way into the pits, because it is between, well, the championship contenders that went all the way last season, and it's looking that way again, as now Herman goes to the outside again, just trying to show what he's made of. Gets the move done rather easily there, and into turn 1, he will retain that for the time being, as now Darrell losing a couple of positions there as well. There's the Syrian, Danger David vying for position. Goes side by side into turn 1. That's David winning out there. Moksha and Ever as well are having their own little fight for 5th place. As of right now, of course, we are still waiting for the McLaren and the Ferrari. But now with 14 laps to go, well, Quincy, where do you think this will go?
I couldn't tell you at this point. Honestly, I have no idea what's going to be going on. It's one of these leagues, isn't it? It's just whatever happens. You could get a safety car on with the last 5 laps to go, knowing our luck. So we'll have to just wait and keep you updated.
Absolutely. Of course, if a safety car was to come out, well, fellow Sun and Tabran are in prime position to take advantage of that. And of course, these two are started on the hard tyres, so they haven't needed to pit right away. They are starting to lose time to the cars behind, as you would expect, as we see there. The battle for 9th go to Energetic. He makes his way up as Tabran now folds. He's not going to go any further on these tyres. He started from, oh, pardon me, from 8th place. And now, well, will make his way into the pits. So he would love to be back in that 8th place. But he's on the medium tyre, so he will have the softer compounds going in to the final stint. And that's going to be very advantageous, isn't it?
They fall off so quickly, the softer tyres. So I wish him luck. Oh, he's on the mediums. Oh, I misheard that. Yeah, mediums would be good. Don't mind me, I'm just tripping.
No. I think you actually made a very understandable mistake. I said the softer compound, but what I meant was a soft compound compared to the hard. So the medium,
Yeah.
the next step down. I should have been a bit more precise there. So that's my
That's
bad.
my fault. Didn't get the details, but it's he's put himself in the top 10. You know, he's got a tyre advantage now. All he needs to do is eke away for the finishing laps at the top 10 guys, and he should, I reckon, he'll get probably around about P7. If he gets close to the guys with the penalties, he could even put himself in the top 5.
I think so
Top
too.
6, sorry.
No problem. No need to apologise. And we're seeing constant yellow flags in sectors, but I do think that is just because we are seeing drivers just go wide. And there you go, fellow son. As soon as I say that, comes into the pits and he will go no further. So he now folds. Into the pit lane he comes. I think he might have seen the yellow flags and just thought, okay, I'll give it a go. As Andy Andre there with the fastest lap of a 1:24.100. Just to compare that from last year's game, F123, the pole was a 1:21.060, but the fastest lap went to Danger David with a 1:22.444. We haven't quite matched those times. I don't think we'll be seeing that. Considering how things are going. Fellow son, I think, is going to rejoin in 9th. Yes, he is, but he's got...
Yeah, it looks like that undercut really isn't working on this track. T-Brand probably thought he could have got in, come back out, got some DRS, gotten past Fellison, but no, it didn't happen. Unfortunate.
No. Also, just to kind of update you on the battle for third, because as Rush the Series gets another penalty, so that really only works out for fellow son and Tabran. That is... not been a great race from either the well, let's say the Alpine as well, but for the V-Carb as well. Rush the Series, this race is just kind of proving how his season has kind of gone, isn't it? It's just not been really his best one. And I think, like, no, as you said earlier in the broadcast, it's just because he's taken a back seat.
Yeah, you can tell. I can tell when Rush is locked in, and he is currently not locked in. He's probably looking forward to the winter break. A bit like Lewis Hamilton, just taking a chill, taking a backseat ride, you know, enjoying the little battles in between. I mean, he's got 9 seconds worth of penalties and he's still in P6, you know, so he's not doing too bad. But obviously those penalties are going to come to hurt him, come to bite him in the end. David with his 6 seconds on his penalty. His Scottish counterpart, Jolly Boy John, with 13 seconds. Kovaska with 3, Darrell with 3, and Toby also with 3 at the back.
Of course, yeah, no, well, not as many penalties as I thought we were going to see this time around, that's for certain. So drivers have done well to keep the totals low, but the main attention really here is the battle with the top 2, and it's very likely we are saying goodbye to David's championship hopes as soon as we conclude this evening's proceedings. Of course, 10 laps to go at the line, but of course, it's going to have to take a safety car or something dramatic to happen in order for David to be brought back into this, and he would need to make a
safety car, a couple of DNFs, you know, that sort of thing. Energetic 6 goes into P6, overtaking Rush the Series.
Absolutely there. So even Energetic is, well, fellow son and Energetic getting a good haul of points for the McLarens as well. But the Red Bulls as well are doing well. And at the moment, I do believe the Red Bulls are going to take more out of the McLarens this time around. So the Red Bulls are doing what they need to do now. They do have that outside chance. And when it was going in to this evening, of course, separated by 38 points to the top runners of the Mercedes. If Race Chase could just make up another couple of positions, he would be in a right... Well, I say that, but then, of course, Danger David and Russell Siri are serving massive track limit violation penalties. So, definitely in that shout, but the Red Bulls looking like they could have a good result when this is all said and done.
Yeah, Red Bull currently on 113 points for their World Constructors Championship charge. McLaren on 133.
Just getting complaints that you are a little quiet, so I'm just turning you up just a taddiest bit, so hopefully that will fix the issue there as Rush the Series gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violation, so that is now his penalty total up to 12 seconds. Been a miserable race for the V-Carb.
And there's McLaren's on the back of him as well, so it won't be too long. Looks like Fellison's keeps lighting up those sectors in purple.
Absolutely, could be taking fastest lap here, but ooh, a bit of a development at the front of the field. Herman has fallen out that 1 second window. That might be purposeful to save his tyres for the end, but of course Andy and Herman are on similar life tyres, if only separated by a lap. But of course Evil, well, if their top two use up their tyres, well, he's going to be right there. 5.8 seconds separate him though, so Evil with a bit of work to do, but he's managed to get that gap to the Red Bull, so it looks like Evil's got that third place secured as of right now, but of course anything can change, and now we are going to see fellow Sun and Rush the Series do battle on the start-finish straight. Oh, whoa, the energetic there, knocking the DRS board for whatever reason. I think he's just trying to give his teammate slipstream as well. So there you go, fellow Sun up to 7th place officially. Just now we see the VCOB knock off the sponsor billboard for Qatar Airways, as we saw a driver there. I think that was Kavachka get another 3-second penalty, and now there's action at the back, Quincy.
Yep, I'm having a look now. I'm having a look towards Mr. Wouter. He's just overtaken Jolly Boy John, and he is perusing on. He's got 9 seconds to his next challenge, but obviously, as you know, in SSRL, P1 to P15 gets points, so there's only one guy tonight not getting points, and that's Mr. Toby, unfortunately, after his great P10 last week.
Yeah, no, unfortunate turn of events for him, but that just shows you, it really, a week makes all the difference, and for Herman as well, it's not looking good for the win. He's now 1.4 seconds away from Andy, so it looks like that tyre saving strategy is just going that little bit too far. Might want to start thinking about reining it in if you're doing that, but Herman there using the battery on the start-finish straight, but that gap still increases, so it looks like Andy's just running a lower downforce, well, potentially a lower downforce setup, but even then he's still gaining that few hundredths here and there throughout the corners, as now Moksha is overtaken by Danger David, but it matters very little. But I think, you know what, even though it was no surprise, you know what, fellow Son deserves a pat on the back here, up 14 positions on his start, of course, had to serve a qualifying ban, and now a good haul of points coming the way of McLaren as Kavachka with a 3-second penalty again. That brings his total to 9 seconds. Only gets him behind, well, he only loses out to Darrell there. Skid solo in the other Williams in 15th, 31 seconds back, so he's not going to lose that anytime soon. Unless if he does make his own mistake. But at the moment, it seems like we're starting to see things settle down. It looks like these places are very much decided.
Yeah, well, I'm so sorry I didn't bet on my teammate Evil before. Kind of forgot about Evil, but he's doing pretty well this race. He seems like he's content there. He's not pushing. He's actually 9 tenths down on his previous lap, so it looks like he's just easing the P3 into the podium tonight.
Definitely looks that way. He's done a very good job to hold off Moksha there, who I thought was going to be on the podium, but silly me. And Jolly Boy John there makes a move on Mr. Miles. Oh, goodness me, Rush the Series. Really going for the penalties galore. Trying to help out his sister teammate, maybe? I don't know. It's interesting because he's under pressure from Tabran. Oh, race chase there. He's deciding if he wants to visit his alien overlords or not, as now Tabran bravely looks to the inside there. Look at that Red Bull skipping up and down the straight, as now Tabran gets that move done and now can focus on what's ahead, because Energetic there could be vulnerable if Russell Series decides to get fighting with that, well, with Energetic there, and Tabran, well, giving a good haul of points for the Ferrari. His teammate Flip, of course, Flip being a reserve as of right now. Of course, reserves don't score points in this league, unless if that changed this season.
No, that hasn't changed, unfortunately.
Right.
Upsets the balance. Upsets the balance.
Upsets the balance. Oh, race chase, they're getting it all sorts of wrong on the exit of the corner, and that allows Tabran a free go at the McLaren in front, and fellow Son as well. Well, I was saying things are starting to settle down, but now we are looking at the McLaren being up into 4th place, maybe more, if he can, well, he could even catch Evil, but I think that is going to be just a bit too far of a trek, with 7 laps to go as of right now, as Andy, and well, Andy with an impeccable drive yet again. 2.5 seconds separating him and Herman, now with 6 laps to go for the leader. And second place, Andy just proving why he's been championship contender since season 2 in all reality, and looking good for a third in a row, and he needed this result, so I think his total will go down from 19 points to 14 as now Toby with another 3-second track limits penalty. Kovachka and Daryl are beginning a fight there. Of course, they're 12 seconds away from the front, but no safety car to speak of. It's been a relatively clean Grand Prix, hasn't it, Quincy?
Yes, indeed. I haven't seen any big scuffles. I think everyone's given each other the space they require, which is always good to hear. Moksha making a slight mistake there. Fellison is now on the back of him, chasing him down. He's 6/10 as a gap.
I'm just going to say for free, Rush the Siri with another penalty, so he's going to lose out. Wow, he's going to even lose out on 11th, and Mr. Wouter is 9 seconds back. He'll surely bring that gap down. Currently in a fight for 11th with Jolly Boy John, who himself, the Haas driver, with a 13-second penalty to serve at the end of the race. I'm currently looking at Fellow Son, though, because this is the closest battle on track outside of Tabran and Race Chase. So things could get exciting towards the end. Fellow Son needs to make this move now. If he's to contend any higher, he'll at least get 4th place once he gets this move done. But now we go to the final corner, and this is gonna be important for the race for the McLaren, and this is important for the constructors as well. DRS open, and Rush the Siri again, 21 seconds to his total now. I think he's given up, but there you go. Fellow Son makes the move he needs to make. And now 1.8 seconds to the Alpine in front, who also has a penalty, so he's at least secured 4th. What a drive this has been from the McLaren. Impressive stuff from the king of the wet, being the king of Qatar as well.
Not too bad from the back.
Not too bad at all. Tabran and Race Chase very much stayed line astern that last lap, so the Ferrari not giving in to the Red Bulls, still trying to catch Energetic in front. I wonder if those medium tyres, they're 8 laps old, but they seem to have fallen off for the Ferrari rather quickly there. He's not gaining as much as I thought he would be, as we have a brief caution in sector 1 for, I think that was actually one of the, was that V-carb there, Rush the Siri?
Yeah, I think it is Rush the Siri. Yeah, he looks a bit oversteer friendly with this setup. I don't know if he's got any damage or not, or whatnot. The case may be, but yeah, a little bit more oversteery than your average racer on the grid at the moment.
Indeed, he is. At the moment now, Fellow Son still trying to bring down that gap. We will have 4 laps to go at the line. The lead across it now, so we start lap 26 out of 29. Unless if Andy makes a severe mistake, this race is his. And save for Herman and Evil, their places are very much decided, but Fellow Son could still bring a wrinkle into all of that. David is bringing down that gap 10th by 10th, but of course with that 6-second penalty to serve at the end, he'll be relegated down to 6th position, so he will finish behind Moksha. As things stand right now, of course, things can sometimes it just takes the flip of a coin, and then all of a sudden things get flipped on their head rather quickly. It does happen, I promise you that. Tabran now has caught up to the McLaren in front as well, so this could provide complications for the constructors as well. But yeah, no, things happening up and down the grid. Rush the Siri again with a 3-second penalty. 24 seconds, Quincy, my word.
The 30, he's going to get disqualified, but I'm not sure if that's what he's aiming for or not.
Well, it better not be, because I think he would have a good chance.
Yeah.
Well, if he kept it out the track limits, that is, but now he is... He could lose out to Jolly Boy John here as our Fellow Son round the outside of Danger David coming out of nowhere through... Wow, that is through that flat right-handed sections. I think Danger David might have let him through, and he might be just trying to vie for the DRS to try and catch up to Evor and bring some disturbance to his race, but Evor has been very solid. In fact, all the top 3 have been solid at the front, but Fellow Son with an epic... Oh, it's Danger David again.
It's over. It's over for Danger David. It's a 9-second total. Yep. So he's just going to send it on to Fellison. Try to catch up with Evor. I don't know, he's not having a good race tonight.
Absolutely. I think the famous saying, it's Jova for David. He will be relegated to... I think it would be 7th place as Danger David again lets him through. So yeah, Danger David trying to use that DRS and maybe actually helping out Fellow Son in a way. I'm not too sure. He's gained 2 tenths there from the last lap. It wouldn't be enough to really make a dent. Of course, Evil is on those hard tyres. 13 laps old, and fellow Sun on 9-lap-old medium. So, I mean, there's a chance. I will give him that. But it is very slim with 3 laps to go. Has got to somehow find, well, basically a second a lap and then actually try and get the move done in the only DRS zone. So in reality, he only has 2 laps to do this, and he's already going to lose 1. And that gap isn't going down. 2.3 seconds separate third and fourth. The other battle we have got going on does have complications for the constructors as well, and that's for 7th position to Brown there, really just trying to keep it respectable for the Ferrari camp. Well, Trugster making his way out. Pleasant Snake, of course, as we've said many a time, serving a 3-race ban, and of course this evening's race was one of those bans, and it will go into next week. And then in the final race, a 63-second race, penalty for him. 63-second penalty, which will be added on to his total race time in the stewards room. So it really isn't going to be a good end to the season for Ferrari, unless if Brown can find something. He had DRS on the start-finish straight there, but couldn't really do anything with it. And unfortunately now still down in 8th. At least unfortunate for the Ferrari, that is. Fellow Sun as well, looks like that's going to be all done and dusted for 3rd. As of right now, 2.1 seconds separating him and the Kicksauber in front. So a good haul of points for the Kicksauber regardless. And Mr. Walter is going to benefit from one of the positions because Rush the Series is serving what is at the moment a 24-second penalty. That might not be the final penalty total once we've concluded. I'm sure Quincy will keep us updated on that. But at the moment now, approaching these... Oh!
No. There goes McLaren's bad luck there. Energetic slips into the 3-second penalty. Another one bites the dust.
7th place for Tabran if he can keep that car between the right lines. Oh! Energetic is off! He's spun!
No way. I missed that.
Oh my word, and that was just going through the strong right-hander there. You keep flat, and now the McLaren is relegated down to 9th with a penalty total to serve. It needs to get underway sooner rather than later. Andy, though, starts his final lap, and Andy has proven to us yet again why you never count him out. He's had 2 seasons in a row where his starts to the season have just not gone great, but somehow he always brings it in the second half of the season, and now he is going to take the win in Qatar, and what an important win this will be. He separated 2 Herman ahead by by 19 points going into the evening's proceedings. Swishes here with another 3-second penalty there. So it looks like he's 1 away from disqualification. He goes through the long right-hander, no trouble at all. And, well, has got 6.2 seconds on his championship rival for what was the previous 2 seasons. And it will surely go down to the wire in round 10. But round 8 will go to Andy Andre. He brings down the ground to him and Herman, and he'll win in Qatar. What a show from him. Herman will come home in 2nd, Evo in 3rd eventually. Fellow Son trying to hold off the charge of the Alpine at the back. He will take 4th. Danger David, well, he's got a penalty to serve of 9 seconds, so he's going to be relegated down to what is 7th position even, and then Race Chase will come home in the Red Bull in 8th. But that's Moksha Tabran 5th and 6th, and then Energetic will eventually come home. Mr. Alter there bringing that gap down, actually, so that might have a play on proceedings. No, it's not enough. It was 3 seconds, and there you go. Jolly Boy John finishing ahead of Rush the Series. And actually, Daryl there might be in to gain a position. Let's have a look. Is he done enough? Yes, he did. In fact, both Aston Martins.
Throws 2, both Astons. Yeah.
And Toby there with a 3-second penalty, just to kind of rub salt in the wood. Skid Solo, well, he was actually in a race of his own. We didn't really talk about him at all. That's just because he kind of just kept himself out of trouble and just kind of finished in the points there. So that's 15th. I wasn't sandbagging. Quincy owes me a sorry. Oh, that's from Daryl directly.
You definitely weren't sandbagging, but you were faster than you said you were, Daryl. So I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Yep. So, of course, we are now going to take an interview from our top 3 drivers as Daryl is unhappy with the disaster that was. So Aston Martin losing out on crucial ground. It's very unlikely they're going to be fighting for more ground. But I think I'm impressed with Fallow's drive. That was a great drive. I know we expected that, but also he had to keep it out of trouble. He got no 3-second track limits penalties. He also got no incidents at all. I mean, and I don't think there's really anybody else for him for driver of the day, Quincy.
Definitely Fellison, I'd say.
Yeah.
What an amazing drive. I mean, we expect these kind of things, but you know, he went out there, he drove a great race, he served this penalty, and then he went out there, he made all the overtakes, all the exciting overtakes that you'd like to watch. But yeah, I'd definitely vote for him for driver of the day for today.
And he gets my vote as well. So we're going to be interviewing the podium, which was of Andy Herman, and for the first time in a little while ever, we'll just wait for the drivers to kind of make their way into the commentary box. But despite that being what I would say is a quiet race, there was still a lot going on throughout those 29 laps.
Yeah, for real. There was again there was action up and down the field. You had early stages of the race. You had Tarkangino working his way through, T-Bran and Fellison also pushing all the way on their hard tires, which was a decent strategy to be honest, considering where they finished. So that's pretty good for them. And you know, some certain people who are expected to be a little bit further up, like Mr. Wouter, only got up to P10, which is, you know, what can you do? It's his first race back after a long break. Got to give him time to get back up to speed.
Exactly. And your other prediction of Flip just didn't quite finish the race, unfortunately. Did you hear why he retired, and no clue at all?
No, not yet. I didn't witness yet in the chat, but I'm sure. I'm gonna let you do your thing, and I'll just be here to listen this one, the interviews.
All right, then. We're just waiting for Andy to make his way. But another evening concludes. Andy taking the win on this one. Herman in second place and Evo in third. So now Herman loses another 5 points to his championship rival from last time. But Danger David looking like he's out of proceedings. We are still waiting for the winner to make his way into the commentary box. I don't know where he is. If he is another minute, I'll probably just get going. But of course, we were seeing early drives from Tarkangino, but sadly succumbed to his fever, so retired early from the race. Only real DNFs that we saw were either on track from Diego, and then of course a retirement in the pit lane from who we're talking about just now, as we have Andy Andre, our winner. Andy, congratulations. That was a dominant performance after the pits. Can you just take us through that first half and the second half and just the contrast that was in your race?
Oh, thanks, man. It's been a while since I felt so good after a race. I mean, a pole win, fastest lap. I'm really happy to put it all together. The first stint was okay for me. I was kind of switching places with Herman. I was trying to build up the battery and go for an attack to get out of DRS. But fortunately, I couldn't manage that in the first stint, and I had to be patient until the second one on the hards. And pitting a lap earlier turned out wasn't a very good idea because I ran into traffic. Daryl was very casual today. But unfortunately, I didn't come. I couldn't come. I didn't come out too far behind Herman. I was able to make the position back up, extend out of the DRS gap, and even over 5 seconds for the win. So extremely happy about that.
And in terms of strategy going into the race, was that kind of discussed with anybody, or was that just kind of made on the fly? Of course, there was only 4 drivers that really started on the hard tires. If you went with the majority of starting on the mediums, was there kind of any sort of idea of maybe a 2-stop, or was it always going to be a 1-stop if things stayed smooth and no safety car? Which of course that's how the race played out.
No, for me it was always going to be a one stop, and I think starting on the mediums is a bit less risky in case of an early safety car, because if you do have an early safety car and you start on the hards, you've kind of screwed if another one doesn't come. So for me, it's kind of a general strategy to always start on the mediums. Uh, but it didn't end up playing much of a difference. It wasn't really another obvious way to go. The people who started on the hards did had me worried about mid race, lap 15, 16, because basically me and Herman were just playing with each other and taking it very slow, just keeping the batteries full and trying to extend out of the DRS gap. And I was worried that people who started on the hards and extended in front would just will swap on the mediums and give us a hard time at the end. But fortunately, that didn't happen, and I was able to bring the win home.
Well done on that. So, of course, 2 races to go now. We finish our season in Abu Dhabi and Spain, of course, the Circuit de Catalunya. As of right now, you're pretty much, I think, 14 points away from Herman. Bit of work to do. If Herman finishes second, or let's say you finish first and Herman finishes second, the championship will go to him. So what do you think is going to be the make or break going into next week in Abu Dhabi?
Well, I haven't looked at the standings in a while, but I'm pretty sure that even if I win both the last races with fastest lap, it won't be enough. Herman still have some results worse than P2. So at this point, it's out of my hands. So I'm not really worrying too much about it. I'm just trying to enjoy the racing. I've experimented with a different strategy, with a different setup approach this week. So yeah, I'm just taking these remaining races to focus a bit on that.
All right, then. Well, look, we will see you next week in Abu Dhabi on track. If we see you on the podium again, we'll look forward to hearing from you then. But, Andy, what a win that was. Again, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
You're very welcome. Herman just couldn't quite keep up with Andy in second place there. Gave him a run for his money in that first stint, but the second stint just didn't quite come together for you. What was the difference maker and in that contrast between the first and the second stint for you?
Yeah, I'm still a bit speechless about this one, because I certainly was feeling like I was putting a lot of downforce in my car, as you probably should here, to get some lap time, especially in quali here as well. And somehow Andy found something that was even faster. So after what was already planned as an overcut to whoever was fighting me at the front worked out, but obviously cold tires is the make and break point at that stage, and I soon realized into the first stint that especially his first and second sector are a bit quicker. And then after I had some struggles with my computer, I think I had all around a bit of an issue throughout the weekend here today, where some micro lags were coming in, dropped some FPS here and there. So I wasn't really comfortable, couldn't keep pushing in the second stint. And as I was already at the halfway mark on 2 warnings, I didn't risk it and dropped back, because when David was certainly not going to finish in third, and he was very close to me in the championship before this race today, I was just playing it cool, and this race wasn't the final one, and we still have 2 more to go, as you said. So yeah, I'm trying to play the long run here, still at the 8th of 10 races. So I'm honestly just not risking too much. And they are just bringing it home. His pace was still outstanding. I don't think I could have challenged for the win at all at the end, but yeah, maybe a bit of a better shot and give him a better run for his money. But yeah, well deserving that fastest lap during that opening part of the second stint was also blistering fast. So yeah, hats off to him. That was yeah, some work to do for next week.
Of course, you know, and then going in, of course, we've got Abu Dhabi and, of course, Spain, as I've mentioned earlier, in the final 2 rounds. What is your feeling going into that? Because, like, you know, 14 points. I believe it's 14 points. Although Quincy
Yeah,
might
should be 13.
13, right? So that would make life a little interesting because, you would need to be. I mean, if Andy wins the next 2 races, let's just entertain the idea for a second. You would need to be, second in every single race just to kind of keep it safe, and even then, it's going to be nip and tuck. So, is there any pressure going into those final 2 rounds?
Yeah, there was also pressure on this one already, to be honest. He was quite comfortable in terms of going into this race. It's more flowing. I think his driving style is more fitting to high downforce tracks, or at least highest downforce tracks, because there's really only Spain that maybe suits this as well, and maybe Hungary as well in terms of downforce levels. So Vega suited me more. Didn't have the result there, which put me a bit of a back foot. But I think practice overall and confidence was good. But when I saw the gap in quali, I was already worried, and especially those sector times, kind of proved to be the neck breaker here today in sector 1 and 2 for me to not be within his DRS at the end there, and just having to play it safe. So I think Abu Dhabi is still gonna be a different kind of story in terms of that downforce and setup. It's gonna be probably being looking at these final sector where a lot of opportunities lie to push away from people, and there's a long gap between the end of the second DRS zone and the start of the first one, although they're close together on track. So this one's going to be interesting. I think Spain's going to be really a repetition of Qatar here, only one real overtaking opportunity on this new layout. Very fast, high downforce, but honestly, I'm looking to make or at least keep the gap over 6 points after Abu Dhabi. So we're putting in the work again, and for Spain, just have to wait and see what the story is there, and then prep accordingly. But for now, at least for what I've hoped was gonna be, was a second place finish on the podium ahead of David. So one ruled out. Obviously, can still be in the fight for those races. But in terms of the focus for Andy, it's gonna be more straightforward from here on out.
Well, Herman, thank you very much. Thank you for the insight that is yourself going into the final 2 rounds. We will obviously see you on track next week and maybe in the podium if things go well. Take it easy, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, and thank you for casting.
You're very welcome. Evo, it's been a bit of time, but welcome back. 3rd place for you. Very good race considering. Bit of points for the Kick Sauber as well. Your teammate, I think, finished in 10th place or something like that. How was that from you? I bet that was a little unexpected.
Well, honestly, I've always done good in Qatar, so I was looking forward to do this race. I did not have any chance to practice a lot, but I'm very comfortable with this race. Probably is one of my best tracks, and it paid off. It was very enjoyable, to be honest. I was capable to be just on the 4th position for the whole first stint, and I was very comfortable. I was saving battery. There was no point for me to overtake none of those because I was not going to be able to pass either Herman or Andy probably, so I was just staying there chilling and saving battery. I tried something different from them because they pit in 11 and 12, and I said, okay, let's try to go a little bit longer and have better tires at the end. It didn't work very good, but 3rd position is pretty nice, to be honest.
And just what was the maker for you? Because obviously you were fighting with Moksha for the most of the first stint, and then you really found like how all the races kind of progressed. You found your way through, and then even actually got the gap, and you were just kind of running your own race, as you're saying, looking after the tires. But what was for you in your eyes? What was that sort of difference between the first stint and the second stint for you?
Well, Mosca had the DRS all the time in the first stint, so it was not going to be possible to overtake. And I believe he was driving with a little bit less wings because in the straight he was a bit faster. So I decided just to stay on the back of him and then try if someone of them break the DRS. That happened. And then I broke his DRS in the first lap, so then I was a little bit comfortable. On the pace with Herman, I was checking the time, and we was pretty much on the same pace. But Felloson was coming. That was the tricky one. A couple of more laps and he was about to be there.
All right. So just kind of for you in your championship, of course, unfortunately you're an outsider with from these two ahead, but like you've gained a good amount of ground here on most of the drivers ahead of you. You started this evening in 14th. I imagine you've made up a few positions, just on the back of this. Into the last two rounds, of course, as we've already said, it's Abu Dhabi and Spain. How are you feeling going into those, and especially your home race as well?
Good. Those are tracks that I enjoy driving, especially Spain. I've always had a very good pace there. But I'm not looking at the championship. There is no point. I'm very far. I had a lot of incident this time and this year, and I didn't make a couple of races either. But I just want to go race and have fun.
All right then. Evo, congratulations on third place, and have a very good evening. We'll hope to see you next week.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. And just before I go as well, thank you to Quincy for co-commentating this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the comments box. Will we see you again next week?
I'm not sure. I'd quite like to race Abu Dhabi, so I'll probably be back in the driver's seat. But anytime you feel lonely in the commentary box, mate, just give me a shout.
I'm always lonely. You're welcome anytime. But Quincy, have a very good evening, and we'll see you next time, whenever that may be.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Dave. Cheers for casting.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, and as we say our goodbyes, I just kind of want to say yet again, thank you so much to Quincy for being in the comms box this evening, just making my Tuesday night that little less lonely. But we are now moving on to matters in next week. So if you have just joined us, well, I'm very sorry, but you have missed one heck of a race. Wasn't necessarily a classic, but a lot of interesting storylines being woven. Danger David completely out of the picture now, or it's going to take something really dramatic to bring him back into the championship contention. He was very hopeful of being in contention, but sadly finishing 6th place and with penalties to boot as well. It's probably going to be a very large mountain to climb from here. We'll need something dramatic to happen in Abu Dhabi come next week. And we've had drama in real life in Abu Dhabi, of course. I'm not going to mention the year or what happened, but you all know what I'm talking about. But into the calendar for the final two races, it is Abu Dhabi and then, of course, Spain, which is, of course, last season of the race and, of course, the last race to have the qualifying format that we all know and love. Of course, the three-session lockout format. We will certainly have a lot of fun when we go to that format in the 17th of December, of course. Put that in your calendars as well. Barcelona. What a track to put that on. But anyway, this week sees Andy and Herman are going to go all the way yet again. And it is going to be one heck of a battle, of course. If you remember what happened last time, Herman is looking to bring it home with a cherry on top, of course. He got taken out by Rush Siri in Jeddah in that finale just a season ago. Let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks. From wherever you may be in the world, I wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. And from myself and everybody at SSRL, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week at 7:30 PM GMT. But until then, bye for now.